Hello everyone, in this video we'll be solving question 6 of 6 required for MAT 104 NSIM. Okay, in this question we have been given an ODE y double dash plus 16y equals 4 direct delta of t minus 3 pi, and we have given two initial conditions. These initial conditions are very important to actually grasp the equation, so just remember those. Okay, so this is our ODE. Our ODE is y double dash plus 16y equals 4 direct delta of t minus 3 pi. Okay, let's solve that like 3 parts. So let's solve the first one. Okay, what kind of real life phenomena is captured by the direct delta function if this ODE represents a mass spring system? Okay, represents a mass spring system. Again, you can see that. Okay, so it's been given as a mass spring system. Okay, again, this may contain multiple springs, multiple masses, but let's try to figure that one out first. Now here we can see that y is the only variable here which gives us a sense of position of the mass. So if you consider our orientation to be like this, then y can be the height of this mass from the base. Okay, so as you can see, y is the only independent coordinate which helps us determine the position of the mass. So here we can see that it is a 1 degree of freedom system. Okay, what else? Okay, okay, so with this we'll be able to sort of relate where we can use this. So one such function, okay, so they've also used the direct delta function. Okay, one such place where we can actually use this is making our model much more practical. Okay, I'll tell you how much more clearly. Say you're designing a suspension system of a car. Okay, so what you'd rather do is, say you have a car. Okay, so as you know, the wheel is connected to the chassis of the car by a spring. Okay, so how so the mass of the car varies, and how do you determine what constant you need is by actually by modeling the equation, something like this. It would be something very similar to this, but let me show you. So what you do is you'd consider the mass of the car to be m, and then you have a spring which is this spring. Okay, then what you do is you just find the equation of motion, and then you'll end up with this ODE. So how do you make it much more realistic? So how do you actually simulate it going through a bump, or say the car is going through a sinusoidally varying base? So what we'll do is we'll actually model this ODE based as if this base is actually moving up and down, is excited up and down sinusoidally in this case. But say you want to model it so that this car doesn't go through something sinusoidally, but just goes through a bump. So this wheel just goes through a bump. So basically what will happen is there won't be any displacement of this base for a long while, and then it suddenly goes over a bump, and then it just falls back again. So here you would require a direct delta function, but to actually help you model some sort of situation like this. Okay, again, what else can you do is after you use this direct delta, like it's also used somewhere else as well. Say this car is not going through a bump but rather a pit. So the wheel is coming over here and it's moving this way. Okay, the wheel is moving this way. Once it reaches over here, what will happen is it will suddenly fall down. Now what you can't actually assume that this wheel is in contact with the pit through the entire motion. So what will happen is there may be a loss in contact, and it just comes and hits this, it just bumps down. So at this bump it would face a lot of force. So at this point you can also have an impact. So at impacts you can use this direct delta function as well. if you get what I mean. Okay, so actually usually what they do is they this single we'll actually have a damper with this, because we wouldn't actually want the car to oscillate all along, but we would actually have it to dampen. We would actually attach a damper to it. So while modeling, we'll also have a damper. Okay, so again, speaking of damper, if there were damping for this motion, then what would happen is there should be a damping constant present. So our damping constant is proportional to the velocity of the mass, motion of the mass. Velocity is again nothing but y dash. So any coefficient with y dash will be giving our damping force. In this case, damping acceleration, you can say. You multiply it by the mass, you would get a damping force. Okay, but here we are neglecting the mass. The equation of motion really doesn't consider the mass. Okay, so here what you can see is that there is no y dash term at all, which means this system is undamped. Okay, our system is undamped. If you want to make it much more clear, you can write explicitly as 0 times y. Here again, 0 will depict a damping constant, like what I just said over here. So a damping constant is 0, which means our system is undamped. Okay, so that would mean that if, okay, as you can see, you can see the initial conditions, which means our system is initially at 0 displacement and at no velocity, which means it's stable. Until given any reason for this to move, it will not move. It's stable. That y is 0. So if I were to plot y versus t, y of t, like y versus t, it would be just a flat 0. Like this would be y and this would be t. This would be just a flat 0 until given any reason for this to move, or until acted upon any force. So what would happen is, but now you can see in the right hand side, the right hand side tells us the force acting on the body. So as you can see, it's 4 times the direct delta of t minus 3 pi. We know how the direct delta works. So the direct delta of anything, if it's equal to 0, the value inside this is equal to 0, then our function will have value 1 at t equals 0. At t is not equal to 0, it would be 0. So our direct delta function would look something like this. At 0, it would have a very high peak, and then it would flatten out. Okay, it would have the area under the graph has a magnitude of 1. That's the property of direct delta. Okay, so what else can we do? Okay, okay, so our system is undamped, and what else can we solve using this? Okay, so as you can see, our system was not moving at all, but now there is a force of 4 times delta t minus 3 pi. Okay, so that would mean at t is equal to 3 pi, okay, our force is 4 times delta of t minus 3 pi. As you know, if at t is equal to 3 pi, our delta would become 0, which means it would be basically at t is equal to 3 pi, t minus 3 pi will become 0. So our direct delta function would have a value 0 inside it, which would make this entire thing to be a value of 1. So at t is equal to 3 pi, there would be a impact force of magnitude 4. So as you know, the magnitude of direct delta function at t is equal to 0 is 1. So I am multiplying the magnitude of 4. Say it's hitting a bump which is 4 times high. So this basically means we are setting this system into motion at time is equal to 3 pi. And what would happen after 3 pi? Since a system is undamped, it wouldn't go to 0 at all. It would just keep on oscillating. So our system would basically be looking something like, at this would be t versus y. So there would be no motion at all. So it's basically you're assuming a car to be moving in a straight line in a very smooth surface, and at time t is equal to 3 pi it's facing a bump. Okay, so like it would move straight, there would be no motion at all. At time is equal to 3 pi, it can start oscillating. See, again, this oscillation may be cosine or sinusoidal, or it may vary something very different, but again, it would be a periodic motion for sure, because if assuming it's a spring mass system, and then it would move, it would oscillate, so it would be an oscillation. So an oscillation is mainly sinusoidal or cosinal, so it would look something like this. Again, we can't really say if it starts from 0 or from 1. It's mere, I mean, it starts from 0, that's for sure, but how do I say, the variation or the motion of the object after this can be something similar to cosine or sinusoidal, but it can't be said for sure. Okay, so our graph should look something like, at time is equal, this is time, this is y, so at time is equal to 3 pi, it can start its motion after that, and it will continue infinitely since it is undamped. Okay, so this, without solving and just using intuition, sketch the graph solution. So we have predicted our solution to look something like this. Okay, so now let's actually solve the solution. So our equation is given by y double dash plus 16y equals 4 times the direct delta of t minus 4 pi. Let's solve this using Laplace transforms. So how to proceed further is, we'll be taking Laplace transform on either sides. Taking Laplace transform on either sides would give us Laplace transform of y double dash plus 16 times y equals Laplace transform of 4 times the direct delta of t minus 4 pi. Sorry, it's t minus 3 pi. Okay, t minus 3 pi. I can take the 4 outside since it's just a constant. So 4 times Laplace of direct delta of t minus 3 pi. Let's just expand. So this would mean this is just Laplace transform of y double dash plus 16 times Laplace transform of y equals 4 times Laplace transform of direct delta of t minus 3 pi. Okay, so we know the Laplace transform of y double dash. The Laplace transform of y double dash is nothing but s square times Laplace of y minus s times y of 0 minus y dash of 0 plus 16 times Laplace of y equals 4 times the Laplace of direct delta of t minus 3 pi. So the Laplace of this one is nothing but e to the power minus s of 3 pi. Basically, this comes from the formula direct delta of t minus c is given by e to the power minus s times c. I've used this to find a right hand side. So let's further simplify this. We know y of 0 is equal to 0. That's our initial condition, if you remember. And y dash 0 is also equal to 0. So that means this one will be equal to 0 and this term would also be equal to 0. This would simplify our equation to s square times Laplace of y plus 16 times Laplace of y equals 4 times e to the power minus s times 3 pi. So let's find our Laplace of y. Laplace of y is equal to 4 by s square plus 16 times e to the power minus s times 3 pi. Okay, so let's take Laplace inverse on either sides. So that would mean y is equal to Laplace inverse of 4 over s square plus 16 times e to the power minus s times 3 pi. Okay, so how to solve this? Now if you have, I'll write another formula where we know that Laplace of sine of at is equal to a by s square plus a square. So if you consider a to be equal to 4, now this term here looks very familiar. This term here, or this part here, is nothing but the Laplace of sine of 4t. Okay, so our y is nothing but the Laplace inverse of sine of 4t times e to the power minus s times 3 pi. Okay, so okay, there is this another formula as well. So we know that the Laplace of nu c of t f of x equals e to the power minus sc Laplace of f of x, where x is equal to t minus c. Okay, here by mu of c I mean the step function which is starting from c. Basically here mu subscript c is basically a way of representing the step function. It would be 0 till c, then from c it would start with the value of 1. Okay, so there may be other ways to write it, but this is a very simple way, mu subscript c. Okay, so again, as you can see, using this one, okay, so how to proceed further is, see, basically what can we write this entire thing? Okay, so e to the power minus sc, as we can see, this part is e to the power minus sc, where c is 3 pi. Okay, here we have a Laplace transform of sine of 4t. It's very similar to the form of these two. So we are free to replace this entire term with this term over here. This term over here, we'll replace it with, we'll replace this term, the Laplace inverse of L of sine of 4t into e to the power minus s times 3 pi with this term over here. So y would be equal to Laplace inverse of Laplace of nu of c. C is nothing but 3 pi. 3 pi times t times f of x. X is nothing but t minus c. T minus c is again nothing but t minus 3 pi. So f of t minus 3 pi, which is nothing but sine of, like sine is a function of t, then sine should be a function of t minus 3 pi now. So this would be a function of t minus 3 pi. So that would make our equation to be nu of 3 pi. So not 35, it's 3 pi. 3 pi of t times sine of 4 times t minus 3 pi. Okay, so this Laplace and this Laplace inverse can cancel out. So our y of t is equal to nu subscript 3 pi of t sine of 4 into t minus 3 pi. So this would be our equation of motion. So this from this we can figure it out. As you can see, the value of first term is 0 until it reaches 3 pi. Okay, I just mentioned it over here. So after 3 pi, this value will become 1. So after t is equal to 3 pi, we can basically neglect this entire term. So this y of t would be just sine of 4 times t minus 3 pi. So if we were to graph this, we would get this equation. This is nothing but 3 pi. This is t versus y. So this is time equals 3 pi. This point is time equals 3 pi. From time is equal to 3 pi, we can see it starts to oscillate. And it never ends because this system is undamped. Okay, and as you can see, this has a very high frequency than a normal sine would. That's because this frequency is like 4 times higher than a normal one. So as you can see, this, if we were to plot this, actually we would get an equation like this. Okay, so our predicted one and our the one we actually got is very much similar.